we feel intuitively that we are, you know, interested in communicating this way, perhaps.
It feels like it's relevant to the subject, or maybe it's made itself relevant because it's
digital
about touch, and I don't know, I just sort of see ourselves touching, and you know, this kind of contrast between our pale skin and our black clothes. I don't know. It just feels like it's like another kind of conversation, or another kind of layer to the discourse. That's and by framing it, by literally framing it, it brings more attention to it than if we were having this conversation live. Say we were just sat in a room opposite each other. In some ways, we would see more of each other's bodies, or we'd have more to discern about each other. But by kind of narrowing in, or like, and this having this layering, this fragmentation, it's kind of it's sort of I don't know, somehow it's like focusing in on an element of our bodiliness, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe it becomes more intimate because we are not showing our whole body somehow. And because we are so used to seeing the completedness of a figure with a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. But what happens when you split that up? And yeah, as you say, it mirrors what we're talking about, the limbs, digital bones, and a certain fragmentation in our culture. And like a voice without a head, and also talking about the cryonics, you know, there's the idea of afterlife and when people choose to freeze themselves, but that is cheaper to just freeze the head because of hopes that future scientists will reawaken your intelligence in the future. And a body is not a problem as long as you got your mind with you. You can jump between one body and another.
But how does this relate to glory holes? Because you've done this project.
Oh yeah.
You're photographing glory holes, because, like, you know, there you've got like a maybe this, what we're doing now, is like a conversational glory hole. We're just like seeing bodily gestures. I don't know, like how does that connect?
The close-up in general, the close-up of the body, because it defamiliarizes something that is very familiar. And what I wanted to question in this work with glory holes, Belly of the Beast, is to question this extreme familiarity of your own body. And now when there's been so much focus on the body, while also, of course, lack of it because of lack of touch. But then again, the paradox of the extreme attention to it, and we talk about it, and how we move differently with each other, and how we think differently of our own body when there's a foreign virus entering into it, like the fear of our own body. And sometimes what we fear most is the extreme proximity of what is closest to us, like our own body, and this thing of opening up the surface and seeing the inside, and how uncanny that is in general. When you see, like, how much do we know of the inside of our body? Even when we see a bit of blood, it kind of makes it a bit strange somehow. And that's what I've been interested in, to create a paradox of extreme proximity of the body, but also extreme distance. Because if there's a wall of a peephole and a hole that you look through, and you see extreme close-ups, that becomes a bit abstract. A little bit like aerial photography, you know, you don't really know, is it close up? Is it far away? And you know, this work, Dust Breeding, by Man Ray and Duchamp, when they photographed a glass plate that had gathered dust for a couple of weeks, and that looks a bit like an aerial image from above.